for the national anthem of Antigua and Barbuda. So we're going to ask everyone to please stand at attention for the national anthem. Yeah. Somebody say yeah.
Them claps.
Well, you know how we do it in Labour Party place. Eh? You want one song? You can get one, man, don't worry. You can get one. Yes, you guys can sit. You guys can sit. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here representing the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party as always. We are indeed the best institution in Antigua and Barbuda and the only institution that should be able to run this country. No bother with the naysayers and them, man. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you guys to give a warm Labour Party welcome to one of our comrades. You know him. He's no stranger to us. Welcome, Senator Osbert Frederick Man.
Good night, comrades. Good night, comrades. Yeah. Before we get into the thick of things, I'm just going to ask you to kindly bow your heads wherever you are while we invite the presence of the Most High to be with us. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this wonderful privilege that we can be here tonight. We are grateful for spared life. We ask that your Holy Spirit will be with us tonight. May everything that is done tonight be done to your name's honor and glory, and be done decently and in order. Bless us to this end, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. We're going to repeat the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party creed. We believe in the empowerment of our people, in the principles of good governance, the elimination of poverty, the provision of full employment, equitable distribution of wealth, and equality of opportunity and justice. That's what we believe in. Good night again. Yes. When you see this big red machine roll out, you know there's something turn up.
Them claps.
Let's give a round of applause for Big Red. Yes.
Them claps.
Yes. Want to welcome you here tonight to St. John's City East. I want to welcome you to Bridgetown. It's Bridgetown, St. John's City East, people. You know, when the Honorable Melford Nicholas started to build all the bridges in this constituency, a lion fellow by the name of Harold Lovell came out and said he had all the funding in place. Everybody who was involved called him a liar. But you know, sometimes you can lie so much that you believe your own lies. But it's the Honorable Melford Nicholas that did it. And so tonight, people are calling this place Bridgetown. Well, let me give you, before we even go into the meeting, Harold Lovell track record in elections. In 1980, Harold Lovell ran on the ticket of the ACLM and got 23 votes. 23 votes. He was so ashamed that in 1984, he didn't come back. In 1989, the ACLM ran 12 candidates and Harold Lovell couldn't make the slate. In 1994, when the ACLM joined up with the UPP, he ran and he got 465 votes. You know UPP votes he get, because nobody loved Harold Lovell as a person. So he got some UPP vote. He lost. He came back in 1999 on the UPP ticket. He lost again. In 2004, when there was a swing, Harold Lovell got 968 votes and won his seat. But I want to show you the trajectory after that. In 2009, he won again, but he got 826 votes. He started to go down. He reached where he lost. Yeah, you know, we know how that goes. In 2014, he going further down Victory Hill. He got 682 votes. In 2018, he further down Buggy Peak, South People. He reached down Catesby now. He got 616 votes. But I don't think Allen is getting that much. Because when Melford done with it this time, we're going to have a funeral for Harold Lovell's political career. That's it for him. Can you imagine you have a leader of a party and nobody who served in the cabinet with Harold Lovell has endorsed him? Not one of them. Not one of them. All of them say he's the downfall of the UPP. The only person who can see it is the blind Harold Lovell. But I'm going to leave Melford to deal with him tonight. I'm going to call on somebody who knows this constituency very well. Comrades, put your hands together for Ambassador Max Hurst.
Thank you, Comrade Fredericks. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? We're ready to send our representative back to the Parliament. Send Melford Nicholas back to the Parliament. That's what we're ready to do. And you know what we're also ready to do? We're ready to send a man named Harold Lovell into retirement. Permanent retirement. After Melford finished with him, he gone to Gotha. Back to the cemetery. That is it for him. Finish. Over. Listen, incompetence is not something that is rewarded by the Antigua and Barbuda people, nor by the people of City East. We don't reward incompetence. Here he was, finance minister, promised the people of City East that while he is elected, he is going to see to it that all the bridges get fixed, that all the people whose houses get flooded will no longer be flooded. He is going to fix all the drains in cities. That was in 2003. In 2014, 11 years later, Harold Lovell had not fixed one drain, nor had the flooding not in one street. And when he saw Melford Nicholas having fixed the bridges and fixed the streets and fixed the gutters, he had the nerve to say he can do better. Imagine that. He had 10 years. He had 10 years. And he said he could do better. And in 10 years, he did nothing. He did nothing. Now, I want to talk to you also about our university. the University of the West Indies at Five Islands, the United Progressive Party had a meeting, and at that meeting, they asked who was in favor of the university and who was against. Harold Lovell was against it, and they tried to get Lamin Newton to say he was against it. Lamin Newton said, I have children, there's no way in the world I'm going to oppose a university being placed right here in Antigua. And you know what he did? He sent Cartwright Marshall to fire Lamin Newton, because Lamin Newton, although he was a minority when they took the vote, Lamin Newton came on radio and said he supports a university in Antigua and Barbuda so that youngsters can earn their bachelor's degree right here in Antigua. And Cartwright Marshall get on radio and he said, if anybody disagree with the majority in the executive of the United Progressive Party, they have to go. They must resign. And the chairman of the UPP said that if she had children, she couldn't send them to that university in Antigua. It would be degrading, working down the brand of the University of the West Indies. They can't have no University of the West Indies in Antigua. And they fire Lamin Newton. And after they fire Lamin Newton, they bring Harold Lovell on radio. And they ask him, what is your position on the University of West Indies in Antigua? And you know he say? He so lie. He say, what if he lie? He say, I don't understand where this thing has come from, that the UPP is not in support of the University of the West Indies. He knows that right in the legislative body of the United Progressive Party, right in the executive, that he, Harold Lovell, was opposed to the University of West Indies. Punish Lamin for saying he is in support of the university. And then he had the nerve to get on radio and say he doesn't know where this thing come from that the UPP is opposed to the University of the West Indies. He knew, but he has grown so accustomed to utilizing the lie that he begins to think that every time he lies, everybody believes him. Nobody believes you because you lie. You've been lying for a long time. Listen, can't lie. I served honorably in New York as our ambassador. And Harold Lovell, on the first opportunity he got to enter the parliament and to speak from the floor of the parliament, Harold Lovell said, that boy Hearst owed the City University of New York $14,000 for parking ticket. He said, me? I'm a former taxi driver in New York. The last thing I do is to park my car illegally because what you earn in a day is what a parking ticket costs. He said, something wrong with that. I go all the way to New York, go to the United States UN mission on First Avenue and ask the leader there, share with me the printout of the tickets owed by Antigua and Barbuda. And when she gave me the printout, John Ash, his ambassador, is the one who wrote up the $14,000 bill. And he knew it. He stood in the parliament. He had the bills in his hand. He knew precisely who owed how much. And he knew Hearst didn't owe a penny. They said, I owe a ticket for $55. Hearst did not owe. The $14,000 was incurred by John Ash. And he knew it. He stood right there in the parliament and he lied, just like he lied to the Antigua and Barbuda people by saying that he don't know where this thing come from about the UPP does not support the University of the West Indies. He knew, but he's a failure. And he makes every excuse he can for his failure. So he's being interviewed by the fellow Darren Matthew Ward on Observer, because you know that's their station. And the fella asked him, well, how are things going in Antigua and Barbuda? And why didn't you get more projects while you were the Minister of Finance? Our lover said, listen, if you go anywhere in the Caribbean, you will see that no tourism projects were being built anywhere in the Caribbean. And we suffered from that. The fellow down Matthew Ward tell him, listen, Harold, I have been to Barbados and I saw hotel projects going up in Barbados. I went to St. Lucia and I saw hotel projects going up there. I went to Grenada and the Sandals was being built there. And I went to St. Kitts and I saw multiple tourism projects, but nothing was happening here in Antigua. Howard Lovell tried his very best to give an excuse for not achieving. He and Baldwin Spencer are just alike. Baldwin Spencer promised to eliminate the fuel variation tax. And when you asked him, Mr. Spencer, what happened to the fuel variation tax? You think you can go back to the Antigua people and tell them that you can't implement it now? You know what he said? He said, you sure I made a promise? I was saying, what is this at all? Mr. Spencer, the Labour Party's mantra is promise made, promise kept. Promise made, promise kept. You know what theirs is? Promise made, but not to be fulfilled. They're just fooling people. They say we're going to fool the Antigua and Barbuda people. We're going to tell them we're going to drop all these taxes. We're going to tell them that they can keep all the money in their pockets when they get paid, and so on. And you know what happened? You know what happened to our lover? He grew so accustomed to lying, he thought that his lies were real. Imagine, imagine, Baldwin Spencer and Harold Lovell tell the Antigua and Barbuda people that we will not impose personal income tax because all you have to have is a modicum of compliance with the tax laws, and that will be more than enough. That was in 2004 in order to get elected. And by April the 1st, 2005, All Fools' Day, they imposed personal income tax on the people of Antigua and Barbuda after 28 years of not having personal income tax. No personal income tax. You see all those fellows who work for Liat? They all fell into that trap. 25% of what they used to take home hawks out to their salary. And the Honorable Gaston Brown promised them that we are going to return Antigua and Barbuda to no personal income tax as soon as we get into office. And they say we can't run the government without personal income tax. And what did Gaston Brown do? Cancel the personal income tax in 2015, less than a year after arriving in the office. Because when we make a promise, we intend to keep it. Promise made. Promise made. Promise made. All right. And so we kept that promise. No personal income tax. I hear them saying now that they are not going to impose personal income tax. But let me tell those folks from Liat once more. Baldwin Spencer and Harold Lovell fooled you all. And my friend Melford Nicholas said, you don't learn anything from getting kicked by a mule a second time. When the mule kicked you the first time, I don't know how many of you know mules, but you know a mule is the result of a horse and a jackass. And in his case, he's a blue mule. No, he's a blue mule. But his parent is a jackass. One of his parents. And he kicked those Liat workers. I hear them saying that we must pay Liat workers what is due them. They know very well that the liability of Antigua and Barbuda stretches as far as Antigua and Barbuda's holding in Liat, which is 34%. And Liat, as it stands, has no assets. The airplanes had to go back to CDB because CDB paid the lease. And they have 3 airplanes here. 2 of them fly, and 1 of them is waiting just in case one of them break down. They can send it off. That is how airlines work. And he has the nerve to tell those air workers that they're going to pay $120 million to them. And when you ask him, where are you going to get the money from? Liard Lovell, where are you going to get $120 million? Where are you going to get $120 million from? He doesn't know. He said the Lord will provide. Well, we believe that it is the treasury of Antigua and Barbuda that will have to bear any expense related to that. And we'd much rather spend our money on ensuring that we have a university, that we have larger schools. That's why we have, and that we build a new school, the Sir Novel Richards School, and that we enlarge it so that it can play a bigger role than it now plays. And we can do the same thing with the Princess Margaret School, the Antigua Girls High School, the school in Old Road, St. Mary's School, Jennings Secondary. That is the idea. We spend our money on those people who are going to help to make our country a better place in which to live. And so, when you look at the skills brought to the Parliament and to the Cabinet by our comrade, Melford Nicholas, you know you have one of the smartest men in Antigua and Barbuda. Not just in the Cabinet, one of the smartest men in Antigua and Barbuda. Melford Nicholas worked for Cable and Wireless, learned his trade at an early age, and that has stuck with him. Melford Nicholas is responsible for new technologies being placed in Antigua and Barbuda. And anytime at all, we have any difficulty, it is to Melford Nicholas that the Cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda looks. That is one of the smartest men there is in all of Antigua. He's a genius. Melford Nicholas is a genius. And so you have the best representative you could possibly have. The very best representative. And that failed fellow, that failed joker could not replace Melford Nicholas in anything that Melford Nicholas had to do. So I know City East. I've been a part of City East. I grew up in City East, on the edges of City East. And I can tell you, you have the best servant you could possibly have in this year 2023. And so I encourage you, on the morning of January 18th, take your weapon with you and put that mark exactly where it belongs in the box. And on the night at the Princess Margaret School, it's going to be Melford Nicholas, Melford Nicholas, Melford Nicholas, again and again and again. We're going to beat that Harold Lovell. We're going to beat him like a road march, fry him like a fish, and flush him down the drain when we finish. He's gone. He's done with. He's over. And you, the people of City East, would be responsible for that. Thank you very much. I look forward to being with you again. Good night and God bless. Happy New Year. A little music? Whatever.
Thank you, Comrade Hurst. We're moving right along. I have some things to say about the university, but I'll wait till we go in that constituency. Our next speaker, let me tell you, if we love this speaker one more time. We're going to Rural West. We got blood on the place with girl force. Women and labor. Women and labor, let me hear you. Yes.
When it comes to the youth and girl is the future. Then think we are gonna feel them up another thing coming up plan for you. Well, we say we are the heart of the nation. And if we got the heart and no girl got the breast, we express how we real. Determination at the highest scale, Christian and for we are nothing never underestimate us.
After many years, we putting back a Christian in Rural West. Comrade, you just watch the ball. On to the bat. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, Gale Force.
Then think we are gonna feel them have another thing coming up plan for you. Well, we say we are the heart of the nation. And if we got the heart and no girl got the breast, we express how we feel. Determination at the highest gear, Christian and for we are nothing not for the side. Never underestimate a strong woman for rise. Some girl Christian got you, but me know she got it for life. ABLP forever, get Christian and for the better. Together, for you and me.
You see, I have to say House of Labor tonight. My comrade, Samantha Marshall, when she first came on the platform several years ago, would call out House of Labor. And I'm told the men do not want to be left out. But I must first call my women, so let me call you one more time. Women of Labor. House of Labor. The energy tonight is real. Are you ready, City East? Are you ready to send Melford Nicholas back to the lower house of Parliament as your MP? I have to tell you that it has been a while since I have been on a political platform. But as I've said, the energy is the same. And I am happy to be here with you tonight, my fellow comrades, because I want to take you on a trip. A very short trip down memory lane. But it is essential that you know where we are coming from, because the future of Antigua and Barbuda rests in your hands. There are some children here from Rural West who followed me here from Rural West. I have their future to protect. It is my sacred duty as a servant of the people to protect them. You see, we come here. These men and women of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party come here as your servants. I have never gone on a political platform to speak without reminding you that power rests with you. You have a responsibility to determine where you want to take Antigua and Barbuda. We come to serve. We come to offer programs. We come to offer policies to take Antigua and Barbuda into the future, to the next level. This election, in fact, all elections are about people. I want you not to forget that. So I say to you, whom shall you choose this day? Whom shall you choose this day when you look at Antigua and Barbuda and where we have come from? Will you not choose the man and his team? The man who has never lost an election from when he first ran in City West. Will you not choose his competent leadership and the leadership of the men and women who serve with him? To whom shall you give the responsibility to run this ship of state? I say that you can only give it to the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, led by the Honorable Gaston Brown. Take your time and consider the slate of candidates that the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party has put before you. Robin Yearwood, Sir Robin Yearwood, is seasoned. He is knowledgeable. You cannot have a gem in your hand and put it to waste. Sir Malwyn Joseph, of equally great pedigree, has served this country well and will continue to serve this country well, for I am satisfied that the people of St. Mary's North will return him to the lower house. And there is absolutely no question in St. Paul's. There is absolutely no question that our comrade chair will be returned. And there is no doubt that the man of the hour, Minister Melford Nicholas, who addressed you. Let me say this because I really want to make this point. I want you to listen to me. Because it's one thing for me to campaign through the length and breadth of St. John's Rural West, and for these men to campaign the length and breadth of their constituency. But you two have a sacred duty to send that message. Think, if you will, when we went through those COVID dark days, it was Melford Nicholas through thick and thin who addressed you every single week without fear. He faced it all. And as far as I am concerned, that shows his courage. That shows his tenacity as a leader. He has my support. If I wasn't voting for myself, I'd have come over here and vote for Melford Nicholas. No, you know, if you are a comrade of this institution, that I faced the polls in 2004. And it was in 2004 that the UPP was ushered into government. I call those, their years in power, the dark years. And I want to believe you remember them, and this is why I say to you, you have a sacred duty to ensure that those who are going to the polls for the first time understand what it means to vote for the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. We are not a failed experiment. We are a government of success. Today, I found myself reflecting, and there are many of you tonight who will remember, if not all of you, and those who do not know, I will tell you. I remember coming out of the office of the Prime Minister, then Lester Bird of blessed memory. And there was a throng of UPP supporters just outside of the gate, threatening. And then all of a sudden you heard this rumor, this story about missing files. And they whipped the people of this country into a frenzy. And the people believed. They accused Emeritus Leader of blessed memory, as I've said, of all manner of evil, none of which has been established today. To date, not a man or woman in the Labour Party faced any kind of prosecution or under their leadership for what they accused us of. It was a ploy, a trick to gain governance. I say to you, be mindful and be watchful, because of that, they got 10 years of power. And you got 10 years of misery. Do not forget. Remember that today, tomorrow, and every day until the 18th of January, when you put your ex beside the candidate of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party in whichever constituency you reside. Do you remember? Because I remember the first budget speech. I remember when I spoke, and I remember when I said, it seems as if you wanted the largesse of government. It seemed as if you thought the Labour Party was living high off the hog, and that is why you went into government and wanted government. You remember them MP license plates? You remember I said every driver have a driver who have a cell phone and live large. That is what it was about for them, but it's not about that for us. It is about people. It was about people and will always be about the empowerment of the people. And when we go down to Knuckle Block on Thursday, I shall share more with you on that. So I'm extending an invitation to all of you to join me. But I say this to say to you, for them it was about opulence and not about leadership. They had so many plans, just like they're rolling out now and nothing materialized. You remember the very investor they accused and questioned the Labour Party about is the same one they sought to rely on. Lest you forget, I want you to remember. I want you to teach your children, your neighbor, everyone. We cannot put the country in the hands of what is and what remains a failed experiment. A party that was built on lies, matured on lies, and sustained on lies. Not them again. And you have to say it with me. Not them again. Not them again. You see, my comrades, the UPP is hoping. They're hoping that you will forget. But I say, you're not going to forget. You are going to pound. You are going to pound the pavement with me. You are going to pound the pavement with Melford. You will pound the pavement with Sir Malwyn, with Sir Robin, with Maria, with Samantha, with Nacinta, with every single candidate from Old Road to St. Mary's North to Barbuda, everywhere down west, we're pounding the pavement because you can't forget. You can't forget, Comrade Hearst said it, but you can't forget that we were taken into the dangerous hands of the IMF. You can't forget those austerity measures. You cannot forget. You cannot forget the cut in public service and public spending that led to the country falling to an all-time low. You can't forget that. You cannot forget the loss and the shrinkage of our economy. You can't forget. You can't forget the tremendous waste. And when your children ask you, if by chance they ask you, why not UPP? Just go along Queen Elizabeth Highway and look at the monstrosity. You can't forget, they're right there in your face. That car park is right there in your face. And it's not about government being continuous. It is about the massive wastage. The millions of dollar mile road, the fencing, it's about all of the wastage that occurred then. You can't forget. You are going to forget that voluntary severance package and what it did to Antigua and Barbuda. Even their former leader acknowledged it as a failure and a mistake. Yet they're today talking about shrinkage of the public sector without telling you how they will absorb those workers. But what did Gaston Brown do? He introduced that entrepreneurial spirit. He calls it entrepreneurial socialism because he realizes I can't fire anybody, I'm not firing anybody. but I want people to grow and build their own businesses. And this is what we are creative. We introduce real programs and policies to take people forward. So we challenge them to tell us, rather than saying you're going to shrink the public sector, tell us where you're going to absorb workers, what you're going to do with them. And another thing, I heard them say, the thousands of businesses were closed during our time. Tell them name three. Name some and specify the reasons for the closure. I challenge you people to think. Every week, for a period of time, they had a small business pull up. Where were they going to? Is not businesses? Is not businesses existing in the same Antigua and Barbuda? So you can put one hand tell me things bad and then tell me that so many businesses exist. It is not possible. It must mean that the government has created an enabling environment for these businesses to exist, for these businesses to succeed, for these businesses to thrive. Do not be fooled. When they tell you that businesses have closed and thousands of businesses have closed, ask them why. Ask them why. You see, as I campaign as well, because I see some immigration policies come out, I can't even bother. Because when I am on the street campaigning, I'm hearing something different from our Caribbean brothers and sisters. They're speaking of when they were deported. They were speaking of how they were embraced by Lester Bird. They're now singing the praises of Chet Green and Gaston Brown. But to curry favor with you and to win your support, you're hearing of promises. Well, you know, a promise is a comfort to whom? And we are not fools around here. We will not leave shore. I also hear them speaking about a redeemed team. But you do not exchange the dream team for any kind of redeemed team. There's nothing here to redeem. For this ship of state is sailing fine under the competent leadership of Gaston Brown. They have made, as I've said, their grandiose statements. Do not fall prey to it. Stay steady on the ship of labor. Those of you who were at that church service on Sunday would have heard the host say that during COVID, his business took a nosedive. But how well he is doing now. That is a true story. It is not fake. I had lunch on Armstrong Road today at Wilmington's, a thriving business. As you go around, you see Antiguans holding their own and doing their own every day on a cruise ship in the harbor. Look at the successes of the Labour Party. Look at the infrastructural development. Look at the port and the fifth berth. Do not take lightly the fourth landed campus in Five Islands, and you know, I'm leaving that for Thursday night. Do not disregard that Gaston Brown stood up to 2 foreign banks to ensure that those banks are now in domestic hands. Do not overlook the ABI saga. Do not overlook that. Do not forget. Do not forget. Do not play with your future when you have steady hands now at the helm. You have heard Gaston Brown say how he had to move quickly to stabilize this country's economy and get it out of the hands of the IMF. You can't play with that. You don't know where you're going. You don't want to hear them going to power and say, oh, we didn't know this and we didn't know that, to excuse their incompetence and their lack of proper planning and policies to take this country forward. Come with me as we go to the next level. Come with us as we journey to the next level of development in Antigua and Barbuda. I want to say to you that I cannot, though I alluded to it a little bit earlier, I cannot leave this platform without paying homage to our political leader, Ansa Morwin. They kept this country afloat through the worst time, the most turbulent time this world, let me say it, this world has ever seen. True leaders do not necessarily make decisions that are popular. They make decisions that are in the best interest of the people. The Constitution of Antigua and Barbuda itself tells you that it is the best interest of the people that will trump my individual needs, my individual views, my individual rights. And I stand here today and I will forever say the right decision was made by the cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda, guided by its technocrats, to do what it had to do to get us here today, maskless. And because of that, we were able to open back up this country. Today, as the first, and today a bar owner said to me, no longer I couldn't sell anything, my bar is open now. Proper leadership, tough decisions. One other man said to me, listen, I didn't like the vaccine mandate, but we passed that right now. Labour Party better for the country. That is what he said to me. And that is the message that you must send. Now I know I have others coming behind me, so I'm going to wrap up. Forgive me, it's been a while, and I love this platform. I want to tell you that this election is about leadership, it is about judgment, and it is about competence. And I say when you put those three together, it can only be Gaston Brown and the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. We are taking nothing for granted. And Rural West, I want you to send a strong message. I want you to send your first female representative to the lower house. We're not looking back. We are looking forward. So when you leave here tonight, you spread the good word. You spread the news of labor. For the unity of labor is the salvation of our country. Do not forget. Go out early and vote. Line up. Vote. Vote for the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. For a vote for the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party is a vote for your future. It is a vote for your children and your children's children. And Women of Labour want you to lead, so I'm going to leave tonight by calling you again. Women of Labour! There are two women here not answering me at all. Look forward, man. Women of Labour! We are doing this on the 18th of January 2023. It's labor, labor, labor. Until I come again. See you on Thursday night and let's make this happen. Good night, my comrades.
For 10 years, UPP most and brag. Nyam down with treasury like all of them I had. Remember the gang. Now have investors
them again. Oh, that was Comrade Gail Christian. Let me tell you, when she gets up in the Senate to speak, I just can't keep my eyes and ears. You listen to her tonight. Eloquent. Look at the women that they were present on the other side. One of them say, it is time for them to take their foot off our neck. Another one don't even know what foreign direct investment mean. And them want run country. But look at the ladies that the Labour Party has presented to you. The Honorable Maria Brown. The Honorable Samantha Marshall. I just saw her pass here. And Sam, you said Mary saw people right up in front there. Then jump on people. Yes. Gail Christian. Nacinta Ned Charles. Quality ladies that can represent us anywhere in the world. I don't have to worry that they're going to say, take your foot off my neck. I have known my next speaker for many, many years. I've worked very, very closely with him for a number of years in the Antigua and Barbuda Football Association. I know the quality of the man. I drove through his constituency and I noticed that the other candidate don't have up no kind of poster or anything. So I asked the question and somebody said she don't want nothing because she not give nobody nothing. Know how you want to represent people, but you don't want to be a giver. Senator Christian just said it. All they want is to take. But I'm going to St. Paul's. And on the 18th of January, we go green up out there. Because when the votes are counted, all you're going to hear is green, 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 green. By the time we're done without that, everybody going to want cattle and sheep. The place going to be so green. Comrades, join me in welcoming E.P. Gentry.
And show my salvation. The workers of iniquity dig a pit for me. Now they're waiting for me to fall in. Trying to take me bread and butter with lies and propaganda, but they're fooling. They're only fooling. I will not be afraid of what man can do to me. Man, you see, is only vanity. You see, who God bless, no man curse. I shall never hunger or thirst. Who God bless, no man shall ever thirst. I shall be first. I shall be first.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Good night, comrades, and Happy New Year. The New Year's open with much promise. The Labour Party continues to give hope to the development of people and our country. I want to do a few things tonight. But first, let me recognize our esteemed General Secretary, Comrade Mary Claire Hurst. Come on, let me hear from Mary Claire Hurst, hard worker. Let me hear it for all 17 candidates of this great political institution. Of course, we're here tonight to endorse the candidacy of my political twin brother, Honorable Melford Nicholas. The Prime Minister decided to give Melford and I a birthday gift. Our birthday is January 15th, and we start the celebrations right through to the 18th. And we invited all of you to be part of the National Party. We would have won the election on the 18th and continue the development work in this country apace. Tonight I want to do a couple of things. The first thing I want to do is to remind us that the only way, the only how that the UPP and Harold Lovell and the UPP can have any political viability or importance in this country is if we forget. I want to repeat it. The only way, the only how that Harold Lovell and the UPP, or the UPP and Harold Lovell can have any political significance, importance, or viability in this country is if we, the people, forget. For 10 years, Comrade Crystal called the dark years. When the dark, sometimes they feel like my own skin could be attacked. In the 10 years of worthlessness, 10 years of worthlessness, if I use the vernacular, 10 years in which this country's development was thwarted, halted, and set on a retrograde path. In preparing my thoughts for tonight, I consulted, as I always do, my dictionary thesaurus. And I looked for the word failure. And I realized that failure is synonymous with Harold Lovell. Because here's some definition. Failure equals bankruptcy. Isn't that Harold Lovell who bankrupted this country? Failure equals a breakdown. Didn't Harold Lovell and the UP break down everything in this country? Failure also speaks of collapse. They certainly collapsed the economy. Failure talks of decline. We saw a decline of more than 25% of the national economy over a 10-year period. Failure talks of defeat. The people of this country felt defeated for 10 years. There was no leadership for 10 years. It talks about deterioration. And we certainly saw before our very eyes a deterioration of our country, our standard of living included. The talk of failure, the talk of disaster. Things are disastrous. And Harold Lovell and the UPP have proven to be disastrous for this country and its people. Failure, when I checked it out, is synonymous to doom. Harold Lovell again. So when you look at the dictionary definition for the word failure, we can all agree to add to the definition of failure, Harold Lovell. So no child in this country, no adult in this country, no one in this country or even a diaspora family can have any difficulty explaining away the word failure. Anytime you see the word anywhere, just substitute it with the name Harold Lovell. And you're not wrong. And you're not wrong because, as I said, and I gave the examples, we saw it, we lived it. It's our experience. Comrades, for 10 years, we saw Harold Lovell and the UPP destroy this country's hope, destroy this country's image, destroy the legacy, the hard work of the 39ers and those who came before us who built this country. When I hear them make comments about putting the history of BC Bird and legacy in the dustbin, you know what they're saying to us? they're saying to us that our history, Antiguan Barbuda history, is to be ridiculed and put in dustbin. Because if we remove VC Bird's contribution from this country, what do we have left? If we remove the Labour Party's contribution to this country, what do we have left? So if we built this country and they say they want to rubbish our contributions, what are they doing to the country? Comrades, I practice a couple of things in my life. I don't defame people. I don't slander people. I try my very best to be truthful, especially when I come by microphones. Because every time you speak, you're being recorded. And people do fact checks on you. And everything I said to you tonight can be fact checked by you, the audience, and by anybody listening in Radio Land. When I say Harold Love destroyed this country's economy, that is fact. Irrefutable. When I say Harold Love and the UPP took us to the IMF, the bank of last resort, it is fact. Indisputable. And so when I declare that Harold Love and the UPP must never, ever, ever, ever again see the seed upon this country, that too the fact that cannot be refuted. I want to remind us again that the only way, the only how that Harold Love and the UPP can have any political relevance in this country is if we, the people, forget. As we head into January 18, 2023, we are all called upon to remember. Remember the foundations of our country. Remember those who built our country. Also remember those who destroyed it, those who wrecked it, and who are now coming back, seeking another chance at destroying it. Between 2014 and 2023, no one can deny that Prime Minister Gaston Brown and his team rebuilt this country to the satisfaction of the people of this nation. Between 2014 and 2023, no one can deny the fact that this country's international image soared to heights unknown hitherto. No one can deny that in the same period, your government, our government, had to fight off the most deadly virus known to mankind, the coronavirus. And no one can deny either that we did a damn good job in safeguarding the lives and livelihoods of our people. It did not come by osmosis. It did not just happen. It happened through careful planning and astute management and leadership. And tonight I want to ask you, in the sound of my voice, to put your hands together for the leadership of Gaston Alfonso Brown, who led this country through the most difficult period known in modern history. I want to also ask you to put your hands together again, because that was a medical situation. And a fellow by the name of Malwin Marcus Joseph gave more than yeoman service to keeping the people of this country safe. Comrades and friends, I told you I want to do a couple of things. The next thing I want to do is zero in on where we are. In City East. In Bridgetown. In Bridgetown. Because for 10 years, a fellow named Harold Lovell, if you look at his name, H-E-L-L, Hell, he presided over the affairs of this constituency. And I want to challenge anyone in the audience or who will hear my voice. You can even come next to me at the podium and challenge me if you have the facts. To the contrary, that Harold Lovell did absolutely nothing for this constituency. Absolutely nothing was done by Harold Lovell 10 years in this constituency. Now let's fast forward to the present period. And the service provided, representation provided by a fellow named Melford Nicholas. You heard Comrade Harris tell you, one of the smartest persons in this country. There's some people want to use the word smart in negative connotations, and so I will change the word from smart to one of the finest minds in our country. One of the finest minds in this country. If you look at his track record in government, you will see that Melford Nicholas has no match in his constituency. We all know the flooding that took place in this constituency for years and years and years. Harold Love presided over the treasury of this country, the financial ministry, and did nothing. Melford Nicholas has transformed the landscape of this constituency. Has transformed this constituency. And I want to say tonight to the people of City East that I look forward to return to Parliament after the January 18th poll with Melford Nicholas right next to me. We have work to do. We have much more work to continue. And Melford Nicholas is an important person in the context of the work ahead. Harold Lovell has failed you. He has done nothing for this constituency. I very deliberately tonight decided I don't want to talk about Harold Lovell and Gaston Browner because I don't believe in chalk and cheese competition. Harold Lovell is trying to get people to insert his name into a leadership contest where he does not belong. I will mention his name alongside Melford Nicholas only because he has been nominated in one of his constituency. But the truth is, he's no match to Melford Nicholas either. And so to the people of City East, I said to you this time, I am here to retire Harold Lovell from politics in this country. I'm saying to the people of City East, find somebody deserving. Find somebody young and enterprising. Not Harold Lovell. Tried, tested, failed. Tonight is a very important night. This new year is a very important year. Not only are we turning the corner with respect to the pandemic and rebuilding the economy, but we also face election in a few weeks' time. When the constituents of City East, like the rest of Antigua and Barbuda, is called upon to elect competent, performing individuals. Harold Lovell can't be mentioned in the same sentence. You can't talk about competence and Harold Lovell in the same sentence. You can't talk about high performance and Harold in the same sentence. And so tonight, as we are here in City East, to retire Harold Lovell, I want to remind you of Harold's track record. Again, we must not forget, the only how Harold has any relevance in politics in this country is if we forget. It was Harold Lovell, the worst finance minister in the history of Antigua and Barbuda, in the history of the OECS, in the history of CARICOM, in the history of the Americas, in the history of the Commonwealth of Nations, in the history of the world. That is the kind of record he holds. The people of City East, do you want to identify with that kind of performance? Antigua and Barbuda, can we allow ourselves to be seen with that kind of performance? And so election 2023 presents these very important questions to us about the future of our country. In this instance, the future of this constituency and representation. Harold Lovell said, "I failed you over and over and over again." It was Harold Lovell who presided over the Ministry of Finance when our pensioners slept on Social Security steps, unable to get their pension checks. You look at what is happening in this country today. COVID decimated the economy. Pensioners might be paid late, but every pensioner receives their due just every month. That is leadership. That is representation. That is what a country requires of its leaders. When Harold Lovell had pensioners sleeping on Social Security step, there was no COVID pandemic. It was a case of ineptitude, incompetence. We all know because we live here. We know businesses collapsed on the weight of COVID. We saw with our eyes. And once Social Security receipts dwindle, it means they'll have problems and challenges pain. But notwithstanding those challenges, the Gaston Brown administration, led by the Prime Minister himself as the Minister of Finance, ensured that our seniors in their twilight years receive their pension checks every month without fail. That is governance. That is government working with people. Comrades, I also looked tonight while driving over at the whole question of how does one measure leaders and leadership? How do you measure that? Because I hear Harold Lovell posing up and he has some leadership credentials and qualifications. The same guy collapsed the economy, took us to the IMF, now pretend he has some kind of special skills. Let me tell you the duplicitous, how they are very deceptive. Harold Lovell and the UPPC, this government spent millions of dollars to fix the water problem. We fix the water problem not on one front, but on multiple fronts. We're fixing the water production, we're fixing water distribution, and we also fix the whole question of storage. I see billboard mark on more water. So after we spend the money to fix the problem, they are now seeking to take the credit for the work we do. They have no idea of what it requires or takes to run a country. I hear them talking about immigration policy. Well, let me say proudly, as the minister in charge of that area, there has been no government in this country's history, none, absolutely none, that has been more compassionate to the plight of our visitors, our CARICOM nationals especially, than this Gaston Brown administration. And we do it simultaneously by taking care of our people. Because now sometimes they talk about, oh, you look more foreign about Antiguans. That is not true. If you go back and read the foundational statement of our foreign policy, it clearly states that we place a premium on our Caribbean civilization. Tell me, what did Harold Lovell do when the government last time for Caribbean brothers and sisters? They did something. They gave them a passport and call them Millennium. Begin today, we take them back tomorrow. They deported them in droves. They continue now realizing that Antigua is a melting pot. The economic landscape of Antigua and Barbuda is all attractive. And that's what brought our Caribbean brothers to Antigua and Barbuda. But now they realize that there's value in creating a Caribbean civilization. All of a sudden, it's our brothers and sisters. Giselle Isaac is on record as saying that they should not be here. The UPP successive administration, 24, 29, have ridiculed them, criticized them. I want to say tonight that we will continue to build one nation. That those of you who are from our neighboring Caribbean countries who have on your own volition decide to make Antigua and Barbuda home, we continue to embrace and respect you with a single demand that you respect the laws of this land. We recognize and treasure even your contributions to national development. Do not be fooled. Do not be fooled, my CARICOM nationals, by those who the last short reign trying to win an election are now patronizing you. Permítame un momento hablar con los que hablan español. Ustedes saben que el Partido Liberal es el mejor partido en todo Antigua y Barbuda. En el 18 de enero de este año 2023, ustedes tienen un derecho, un deber a votar para los candidatos de este Partido Liberal. Nosotros somos la fundación del país nuestro. Embrazamos a ustedes. Vamos a seguir trabajando juntos para crecer este país Antigua Barbuda. That was a little bit for my Spanish brothers and sisters, that they understand that we continue to work together, understanding the history of our Caribbean. In the 1920s, Antigua and Barbuda's journey to Santo Domingo to work, it was because the economy was buoyant. Today, beginning as far back as Celeste Bird, continuing with Gaston Brown, our economy is attractive. And so non-nationals or Caribbean brothers of the Dominican Republic are here to work. And we embrace them, again, with a single caveat, that whilst we embrace you, welcome you, and encourage the work, you also have an obligation to respect the laws of the land and to make your fair contributions to national development. Let me very quickly turn my attention, as you expect me to the beautiful constituency of St. Paul. I could not leave this podium before, without, and unless I speak to my people. And this, of course, will be brief, because this moment is not St. Paul's, this moment is City East and Comrade Melford. But to the people of St. Paul's, we will continue to work together to develop our community. We have done much together over the last 8 years, 8.5 years. We have laid out the plan for the future. Let us continue to work together to develop St. Paul's, our yachting sector, our tourism sector, our people, education. Those are among the things that we pride and do significant work in building. Comrades and friends, there are many more speakers to come to this microphone. But before I leave, I want to leave you with a quote from perhaps the most outstanding diplomat of the last century. U.S. Henry Kissinger. And he says, I quote, "The task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been. The task of a leader, I repeat, is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been." Tonight, Antigua and Barbuda. Tonight, I say to the people of St. John City East, to the nation, that Gaston Alfonso Brown, together with his team, promise you to take this country to a next level. God bless you and good night.
For 10 years, UPP most and brag. Nyam down with treasury like all of them a hag. Remember the gang. Now have investors, I boast them are the best. Mash up the country and left me in a mess.
That was Comrade E.P. Chet Green. Comrade Green, you gave some dictionary definition of failure. But let me and you work together and create a Pictionary. And beside the word failure, we'll have a picture of Harold Lovell. Beside the word incompetence, we'll have another picture of Harold Lovell. The man is a complete failure. But we're moving right along. At the beginning of the decade of the 1980s, a young man decided to leave the United States and return to Antigua to make his contribution. He gave up top-paid jobs in the United States to make a sacrifice for his country. In 1984, he contested the election and won. In 1989, he won. In 1994, he won. In 1999, he won. In 2004, the people made a mistake and gave him a little rest. And they couldn't wait for 2009 to come. They returned him to power. So he won in 2009. He won in 2014. He won in 2018. And he will win in 2023. You know, sometimes I sit and I just think, what would have happened if COVID had hit us when we had the two ministers of health between 2004 and 2014? I say to you all tonight, many are we, wouldn't you? Because they were saying that people will be lying in the street dead like dogs. But it took the leadership of our Minister of Health, the Honorable Sir Baldwin Joseph, and the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party government to bring us through that crisis. I tell you tonight, I stand here. I stand here. And whatever little I have attained in politics, I owe it to that man. He was the first man who put me on a political platform way back when. I don't remember what year, comrade. He and I had a whole meeting in Browns Avenue one night. Only two speakers. Comrade Baldwin, thank you. In 2023, January 18, you're going to just get rid of another Joseph. You're going to just send he too into retirement at a very young age. You did it before, and you will do it again. And me says, so he endorsed you. He endorsed you. People of St. Mary's North, let's welcome the
6 million
Honorable
ways to die.
Sir
Choose one.
Baldwin Joseph.
You want to test the rocket launcher? Well, let me tell you something. You're the original butcher. We have the chopper. Now the mercy. Hear this. Wait the man. And who that a come? Wait the man. Who no think me did done? Wait the man. And who that a come? Wait the man. Who no think me did done? Me cup it and up. Say DJ go and go sit down. Me cup it and up. Tell them fi pack up and run. Me cup it and up. DJ go and go sit down. Me cup it and up. Tell them fi pack up and run. Go. Put the band come off on the right. They have two stickers and the mic. Admiral come off on the left before me use the bomber and box it to the depth. He's the grinds man. Him a send threat me electric chain. Me go shock him to death. Wait the man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me tell you how delighted I am to be on this stage tonight. I want to say from the very beginning, I want to leave a couple points. Not too many. I want to focus your mind on a couple things here tonight. I've been in campaigns since 1984. I've seen governments go and governments come. But let me tell you this. The two worst periods of political decline, economic decline, and social decline in the history of Antigua and Barbuda were between the years 1971 and 1976 and 2004 and 2014. Never in the history of Antigua and Barbuda, where the country has changed government and have experienced growth, has it been any other than the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. Whenever you change government, and it's either the PLM or the UPP, you experience a political decline. Now I looked at this and I asked the question, why did this happen? And I came up with the conclusion that the most important element in that history and experience is something called leadership. And this is where I want to focus your mind tonight. Over the years, we've had V.C. Bird. Then we have George Walters. We have V.C. Bird again. Then Lester Bird. And now we have Sir Gaston Alfonso Brown. And let me tell you this. We have great leaders, but great leaders come in different times. And there has not been a prime minister in the history of this country that has had to deal with issues more difficult than Gaston Brown. No prime minister has had to deal with a pandemic. None of the previous prime ministers. None of the previous prime ministers has had to deal with a world as complex as the world we're in today. And I want you to understand that what we are defending in Antigua and Barbuda today is leadership. Leadership is what we are defending. The other considerations. But when you consider leadership, you now have to think of the option that is faced by Antiguans and Barbudans today. And you ask the question, how could Antiguans and Barbudans ever consider Howard Lovell as an alternative to Gaston Brown? That is the issue facing Antigua and Barbuda. Anybody, any politician who has run 8 times and can only come up with a 25% victory over the 8 years or the 8 times, it is clear that the very people who make judgment on him are saying you cannot trust him. If Howard Lovell in this constituency is not able to get 80% victory, if all the elections come out 25% success, if you have 25% success on an examination, you move down, you don't move up, or you go and get special classes until you're able to come up. And this is what you have. The acid test of Howard Lovell is the message that is sent by the people of this constituency. You have to listen to the people of City East and say, if the people of City East say, this man, we reject him 75% of the time, where are you going with him? To make him prime minister. Where are you going with him to make him prime minister? He has the worst record as a politician in the history of Antigua and Barbuda. What more evidence you need? You know, I heard a story just recently. I don't know if it's true. Is it true that his car ran out of gas? Is it true? Let me ask you a question. I want to see the hands of all your hundreds of people here tonight. How many of you have ever run out of gas when you drive your car? Now, our level can be anticipated to be finance minister if he form government, which is unlikely. Quite unlikely that he would want to be the finance minister. Now, I know for a fact he made a mistake and wrote a check for $100 and something and bounced the check. Now, you don't take these things lightly. If I get in my car, the first thing I do when I turn on the ignition is to look at the gas gauge. If I write a check, I must know whether or not what I'm writing is less than what I have in the bank. Well, let me ask you a question. There is something consistent about this behavior here. Something consistent, and worse yet, for somebody who might aspire to be a minister of finance. And let me tell you, I know a little about this, you know, because I serve as finance minister in this country. And I will tell you this, it is the most important job in any government to be the finance minister. And if you display this slackness, if you display this kind of conduct in ordinary things, if you don't know how much gas in your tank, how are you going to run a treasury? How are you going to run a treasury? And by the way, when you run out of money in the treasury, you can't put your car and get more money, you know. You can't call your supporters and say, we want some money. The long and short of this is that the Antigua Labour Party, at this point in our history, must be accepted as the only choice facing you come the 18th of this month. The only choice that you have, and you can't make a mistake. Now let me tell you the formula for winning the election. You can have the formula. Every election won by the Labour Party is won by the people. You see, you are here, all of you. If you do what you have done in the past, if you do it now, if you go to your constituencies, and you go to the highways and byways, in the nooks, and you spread the word of Labour and the success of the Antigua Labour Party, we win all 18 seats. 18. We'll win and bring home Brata seat. There's absolutely no doubt that what has to happen now, the Antigua Labour Party people must become excited about the prospects of forming the government. And I want to pay tribute to the political leader of this country. Let me tell you something. What they want to do is to distract from the success of the Labour Party led by Gaston Brown. They want to bring all kind of other extraneous issues But at the end of the day, you cannot overlook the fact that he saved the banking system in Antigua and Barbuda. I was in cabinet when the late governor of the central bank, Sir Dwight Venner, came to the cabinet with a plan to save the finances of Abbey Bank. And he laid out the plan. Justin Brown said, no, something is missing here. He said that plan is not protecting the people of Antigua and Barbuda enough. And he made a proposal. And he said, you know what they wanted to do? The people who have the big money, the ordinary people who have the $500,000 and the $1 million would have been exposed. And the Prime Minister Gaston Brown said, no, I have to protect those people. That was one of the greatest victories in his administration. And when Nova Scotia Bank decided that they were going to sell, Lord have mercy, I heard a gentleman who was a banker himself, and he said to the people of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown can't tell Nova Scotia Bank who to sell the bank to. And that man was a banker. He did not understand that the people who own the bank are the depositors of Antigua and Barbuda. He missed the point. And Gaston Brown said, no, I am not going to sign the document. I'm not going to unless you offer the banks in Antigua and Barbuda an opportunity to own Nova Scotia Bank. And guess what happened? When the man from Trinidad of the Republic Bank, the chairman, walked into cabinet, he felt that he was monarch of our survey, sat down in the chair, put his arm on the wall, on his arm on the chair itself, looked like a real big shot. And he started to say a few things. And when he got out of place, Gaston Brown said, what, I didn't invite you here. You came, and he said a few other words to him too. If you don't behave, you'll have to leave. This is the man. People will say, why no Prime Minister shouldn't talk about that? But let me tell you all something. Not because you come from a small country, you can lap your tail when you come in front of big people. People of big country. He stood up for Antigua and Barbuda. And today, Nova Scotia Bank is owned by Antiguans and Barbudans and the people in the Caribbean. Why is it they want to cover up these successes? Why is it they want to cover up these successes? Instead, they talk about extraneous issues. Issues that are not relevant to the development of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Baldwin Spencer wanted to buy out West Indies Oil for over $80 million. Lord of mercy. Gaston Brown decided that he was going to use a different formula. Instead of dipping his hand in the treasury and put a burden on the people of Antigua and Barbuda, he was able to design an approach, and I can't get into the details though, very intricate. His experience as a banker afforded him the knowledge of how to do this. And ladies and gentlemen, without putting out $80 million, maybe $30 million, we ended up owning West Indies Oil Company. And you know what? I want you to absorb this. The Prime Minister himself got the Nova Scotia Bank. What is the term they use? What they did with Nova Scotia Bank? It established it as a corporate entity that could sell shares in Antigua and Barbuda. I forget the exact term. But let me tell you this. Today, for the first time in the history of Antigua and Barbuda, Antiguans and Barbudans are home with their stock certificate as owners in West Indies Oil Company. And we are not stopping there. We are not stopping there. Look at what he did when he entered into the agreement with the company to manage the cruise ship facilities. Take the government out of debt, assume the debt, raise the money to dredge the harbor, raise the money to expand the harbor in partnership. And what has happened? We are now in a position where we can, within a short period of time, accommodate the largest ship that is made in the world here in Antigua and Barbuda. And I want to end up with one, even the greatest thing that ever happened. Apart from VC Bird buying the syndicate land, in my humble opinion, the most important achievement in Antigua and Barbuda is that Gaston Brown was able, with his cabinet, to bring the University of the West Indies here in Antigua and Barbuda. You know, I just regret that it didn't happen in the 60s when I decided to travel from Antigua and Barbuda to go to Babylon to get my tertiary education. I would have preferred to stay here because I love to play cricket and I think I would have made West Indies side. Oh yes, but the point is, you know what it means for you to be in Jennings, hop on a bus, go bus station, take another bus to Five Islands, and end up in a university. You know what it is to be able to get a bike, ride a bike from Jennings and get some exercise and go to the University of West Indies to get a degree. And the person who is the chief advisor to Lovell, Giselle Isaac, said to the University of the West Indies management, you would be making a mistake to bring the university to Antigua and Barbuda because you would be leveling down the standard. You would be leveling down the standard. Now when you reflect on these accomplishments, why do we think that we have a competition in this election? I don't see no competition. And if you want to get a more graphic picture, take the UPP people one by one. Take them one by one and ask yourself, how did they develop their abilities before they decide to come into politics? They're looking a job. If they were so good, the private sector would have absorbed them. They'll find jobs. They're looking at politics as the last resort. As the last resort, that is what is happening. One of them there, the candidate for the UPP, who already stood up and said, vote for the Labour Party, you know. So I don't know what this is all about. He said, you do it 8 years again, you can do it again. Yeah. And the only truth you ever talk. And you guys say so again. But the point is, look at them one by one, seriously. And you ask yourself, which one of them would make a Minister of Finance? Which one of them would make a good Minister of Telecommunications? Which one of them would make a good Minister of Health to fight COVID? you know, I have to give you this story. I give you this story about COVID. When, you know, the policy, the exact policy of the UPP, as a matter of fact, it's on one of their planks, you call it. They said choice. All right, man. They said choice. Now, during the pandemic, it was not an issue of choice. It was an issue of responsibility. When a leader can make the distinction between responsibility and choice, that leader is not fit to be considered. How could it be choice not to be vaccinated when 95% of the people who die from COVID are those who are not vaccinated? How could it be choice when they all get vaccinated? All the UPP candidates were vaccinated. But they turn around and tell their supporters, no vaccinate, it's your choice, and some of them dead. They were engaged in clinical genocide. Wickedness to tell your supporters, it's good for me, but it's not good for you. And this actually happened. When I was going through that period, I tell you, it grieved my soul. When I was getting the reports from the hospital that this person died, the first question I asked is, were they vaccinated? No. Were they vaccinated? No. And Loveland them could not have the sense of responsibility to say to the people, we took the vaccine, we recommend that you take the vaccine too. What kind of leadership? What kind of leadership? But thank God, I want to pay tribute to the Honorable Gaston Brown and his leadership, because during COVID, he presided over a cabinet of men of wisdom. And as the Minister of Health, I must say publicly, I benefited from the wisdom of my colleagues. Even though we had many good technical people, sometimes we had to go against the technical advice when we consider the interests of the economy. And when we decided that we would open the economy in June of 2020, in June of 2020, the first Caribbean island to open its economy, many people said we were wrong. But as it turned out, it was the right decision. We base it on science. We base it on the numbers. And we're here today in Antigua and Barbuda, experiencing one of the greatest resurgence of any economy in the entire Caribbean. Let me end by saying that in truth and in fact, the only alternative for the people of Antigua and Barbuda this time is the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, led by the Honorable Gaston Brown. By Gaston Brown. At this time, he's unmatched, not only his skills, but his leadership and his vision. You are in safe hands, I assure you, in the Antigua Labour Party. And I encourage you to join us in the neighborhoods, rap on the doors, go in the midnight, carry the song of labor. And at the end of 2018, in the night of 2018, it will be labor, 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 labor unto victory. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Oh yes. Oh yes. What's it? Tell.
For 10 years, UPP most and brag.
Hi.
We
We have your red. We have your red. Men I see you, man.
Mash up the country and left me
We're done with them. Not them again. Not them again. Not them again. We have your red. Somebody say, not them again. Oh, we're done with them. For good too. Yes. Listen to me. We are in Bridgetown. And that name is only because, oh, no. And listen, don't get me wrong. We're not talking about Barbados. We are talking about the Honorable Melford Nicholas Place. Some of them want to take credit for what they didn't do. But the Antigua and Barbuda people knows and sees. It is because of Melford Nicholas and Team Labour why we are living so good round here. Let me tell you something. No institution can move forward, can progress without a solid leader. None whatsoever. Without a solid leader, manning and leading and directing, no institution can last. And we have one of the best leaders in the world running the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party. Comrades and friends, it is time for the world boss! Oh!
5 more years, 5 more years.
We have your red!
You open up the country, them want for
Make
punish
me
you
see
for
a
that.
man!
You build a
We have
stronger
your
economy, them want for punish you for that. You bail out the banking industry, them want for punish you for that. You give us a university, them want for punish you for that. Cast and don't care the good things you do, them want the voters for punish you. But your greatest punishment will be 5 more years in government.
Yes,
Cast and your greatest punishment will be 5 more years in government. You abolish income tax, them want for punish you for that. You try your best to save Liat, them want to punish you for that. You tell Sandals pay up them tax, them want to punish you for that. You improve on the housing stock, them want to punish you for that. Cast and don't care the good things you do, them want the voters to punish you. But your greatest punishment will be 5 more years in government. Cast and your greatest punishment will be 5 more years in government.
Hold on. Let me tell you something. He will get 5 more years in government because he is blessed beyond control. Give me the blessed man.
Yes, I just the blessing. I just the blessing. Father God blessing. One more blessing. I just the blessing. I just the blessing. They can't stop me. I am blessed. I am blessed.
Every day of my life I am blessed.
When I wake up in the morning and I lay my head to rest, every day of my life I am blessed. Mr. Make praise God, make money, money it has, one bad mind. God knows me, me love woman, me father him, that's why me born.
Yes, my comrades. Are you ready? Are you ready for labor? Are you ready for January 18th? Are you ready for 17 none for the UPP? Of course, 17 none for them, man. We're going for all the seats, all of them. We want every single seat in Antigua and the one in Barbuda. My dear comrades, this great institution has performed. We inherited a broken economy in 2014, and we transformed that broken economy into one of the most successful economies in the entire hemisphere. That's the track record of this great institution and this great administration. Let's hear it for Labour Man. That's right. The greatest political institution in this hemisphere. And let me tell you, they can't stop us. No matter the amount of propaganda, no matter the amount of slander, I said to you that the harder they come is the more we go down them. So you know, they're using Asset Michael to slander me. But I want to tell you all that I'm going to deal with him. I am taking him to court. And Asset Michael, ZDK, Observer, and every single media organization that slandered Gaston Brown will have to pay. One thing I can say to you, when it comes to the governance of this country, Gaston Brown does not play. When it comes to protecting public resources, Gaston Brown does not play. But you know what? Asset Michael couldn't thief money under my administration. And that was his problem. You know, all kind of excesses took place on the Lester Bird administration. And I said to Asset Michael, you can't come into my administration and steal anything. And I said to him that if you do so, I will fire you. And that is why a few years ago, Mattelli come out my government. Mattelli resign. You know, when the British Crime Agency wrote to me in 2018, and they said to me that Asset Michael solicited a bribe of millions of US dollars for the energy plant that was provided by Peter Verdi. But say, Asset Michael, come out of my government. Me, Gaston Brown, says so, man. So when he come with his lies and said that I borrowed 200,000 US dollars from his mother, totally untrue. He said that Corvette television equipment belonged to him. He ever run any television in this country? And me run Corvette, man. Telling me, say, bring his receipt to show that he bought a single equipment for Corvette. But you know, he's known to be a notorious liar. And I want to set you all tonight who are playing with Asset Michael. Asset Michael is no comrade. Understand that. Asset Michael is trying to derail this great movement. He's trying to destroy the progress that we have made during the last 8.5 years. And I said to you that Asset Michael is persona non grata. Don't tell me anything about Asset Michael. And those of you said to me that I should not deal with him, I am taking him to court. I have already asked the Gerald Watt law firm to take him to court. So Gerald Watt is already preparing the documents which will be served tomorrow, warning all of them. And thereafter, if they don't apologize, we go straight to court. When it comes to governance, Gaston Brown does not play. I can say to you that I have never ever taken $1 of public resources illegally. Never. And it will never happen. Because you know what? I am too creative, man. Too creative to go and steal public resources. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Asset Michael tonight. I'm here to talk about Comrade Melford Nicholas. I'm here to tell you about the good news of Labour, all the things that we have done for this country, and where we are taking Antigua and Barbuda to the next level of progress, the next level of prosperity. Let's hear it for Labour, man. You love Gaston Brown? But of course you love Gaston Brown. Love you too. Thank you. My dear comrades, tonight we are here to endorse the candidacy of Comrade Melford Nicholas, a man that has represented this community extremely well, a man that has made a positive difference in the lives of the people of City East, a man who presided over the improvement of the physical conditions in this constituency. And we all know that for decades, that this constituency had a major drainage problem.
We know that Harry Lovell promised for at least 15 years to resolve the issue from since he was in opposition. Then he got 10 and a quarter years in government and not one drain was fixed. It took Comrade Melford Nicholas, with his competence and his commitment to the people of City East, to address the drainage issue in this constituency. So no longer you have to worry about dengue. No longer you have to worry about all sorts of mosquito-borne diseases. No longer you have to worry about flooding. Thanks to the work of Comrade Melford Nicholas. Colleagues, there's a reason why we make sure that to come on the front line of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, you must have competence, you must have experience, you must have the capacity to perform. And if you can't make the team. And you know, from since I was chairman, you know, when they come to the Labour Party and they can't make the team, I tell you in a waste of time, you know, you can't make the team. I'm not like Harry Lovell. They tell you wash your foot and come. You must come with skills. You must come with commitment to serve the people. And that is what Comrade Melford Nicholas has done. He has come with the skills. He has come with the commitment to serve. And you can see the difference in the performance. That's right. You can see the difference in the performance. He has outperformed Harry Lovell in every area of the constituency development. Harry Lovell did not build a single home in this constituency. There was only one person who got a board membership, the late Capoon, and he got it in spite of Harry Lovell. It was the great, my dear friend, Colin Derrick, who had to fight to get Capoon a board position. Because you know what? Harry Lovell is elitist. He believes that he's better than the people of City East. He believes that he's better than the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And the irony about it, he has a whole string of failures behind him. But yet still, he believes that he is superior. But you know, within the Labour Party, we are an egalitarian institution. We do not believe any form of superiority. We embrace all of our colleagues. We believe that we have to continue to be an egalitarian institution, an inclusive institution in which we take care of all of the people. That is how we work, man. This type of elitist behavior in which they believe that they're cut above the rest, we do not have that type of policy in this institution. And when you look at their performance, they continue to fail in every aspect of their lives, in their personal lives. And when you gave them the opportunity to govern, they destroyed this country. Let us not forget, my dear people, that it is Harry Lovell who collapsed the country's economy by 25%. And he couldn't grow it. We can accept that the global crisis would have affected the country's economy, resulting in an initial fall in the economy of about 8%. That was in 2009. But every year after that, as Harry Lovell is finance minister, we had a situation in which the country's economy declined year after year, resulting in a net contraction of 25%. That is what you call growth incompetence. When you compare that to what happened during COVID, we had a situation in which our economy was decimated during the period of COVID in 2020. But by 2021, we showed you what the Labour Party was capable of doing. We expanded the country's economy by 7.4% in 2021. And we came back again this year, and we further expanded the country's economy by 8.3%. So by the end of this year, we're wiping off the remaining 5% or 4%, and then we would have positive growth. We would have exceeded the 2019 level of economic activity. That is what you call a competent government. And again, I want to thank the people of Antigua and Barbuda for their resilience, because at the end of the day, this is your success. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It is your success, it is your resilience, it is your hard work that resulted in this very beautiful rebound. This actual rebound in economic activity, showing resilience that is second to none. That is the nature of this great institution, this great country and its people. Let's hear it for Labour Man. There ain't stopping the show tonight, you know. We're going through.
Happy, but you're not true, me not really know nobody like that. Because
From the UPP administration in every aspect of development. In healthcare, more hospital rooms, more tertiary healthcare services. In education, we have rebuilt and expanded more tools than they have. If you look at entrepreneurship, we provided funding for youth and Antiguans and Barbudans in general to get entrepreneurial funding. You look at housing, there's a housing revolution taking place in this country. In the public sector alone, we have built up for Antiguans and Barbudans. That's what you call a great administration. The people in 10.25 years, you know how many homes they built? They built about 50 homes. And you know how much money they borrowed? They borrowed about $50-something million. Them well in excess of $500,000 apiece. Homes that are smaller that are built by national housing. And then they have the gumption to talk about national housing. In fact, they bankrupted Chopper up to 2 weeks ago. The Venezuelan company, Bandes Bank, came to us demanding the money from Chopper. And we had to ask them 10 million plus US dollar loan that they owed from UPP administration. We asked them kindly defer it for another 15 years. That is to extend the payment for 15 years so that Chopper would be in a position to pay. And that is why we had to form national housing. Harold Lovell and the UPP bankrupted Chopper. They bankrupted every single public sector institution in this country. The Port Authority, ABLP, you name it. Let's not forget that 2014. Let us not forget that in 2014, at the port, they couldn't pay salaries and wages on time. They couldn't pay back pay. Let us not forget that at APUA, they could not renew the water plant. They couldn't buy new water plants because they had no money. Let us not forget that APUA could not pay for water. APUA could not pay for electricity. APUA could not pay for fuel. Who do you think fixed that? The Labour Party administration. And you know the interesting thing about it? Even though we owed $81 million to West Indies Oil Company and another $8 million in bounce checks, we came back a few months later and buy them. And we bought them for a fraction of what they agreed to sell the UPP. So, when it comes to competence, when it comes to performance, I say confidently to the people of Antigua and Barbuda that my administration has performed. We have delivered. We have made a difference in every aspect of our development. We built more roads. We have done more for education. In fact, it is my administration that brought UB5 Islands. That is perhaps the greatest contribution that any administration has made towards the advancement of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. This year, later this year, we will invest $216 million to expand UB5 Islands. The money is already negotiated and we'll be signing within the next week. Know that, you know. Within the next week, no more than 2 weeks, we will have a signing ceremony for the $260 million. So when we make promises, we deliver on our promises. And that is precisely what we've done with UB5 Islands. And I can tell you that UB5 Islands will be the crown jewel in this country's development. It is the institution that will be the fulcrum of development of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. To increase the intellectual capital of the people of Antigua and Barbuda and to make them the best and certainly the most competitive within the region and to be capable to compete with those or lesser individuals in the rest of the world. That is how we are investing in our people. Investing in healthcare, investing in education, investing in your infrastructure. And when it comes to infrastructure, my dear colleagues, we spent nearly $200 million so far building out a new cargo port as well as a new cruise port facility. Currently, Global Ports has fenced the area on Newgate Street, and they'll be spending $100 million this year to provide additional land-based facilities for cruise tourism. And that will generate opportunities for entrepreneurship, hundreds of jobs. We have brought more tourists to this country than any other administration in the past. I want to thank Comrade Max Fernandez, over 300,000 tourists. Prior to that, the most tourists ever came to this country is about 260,000. And then they want to say that we have not delivered, we have not performed. We recovered the country's economy in a rapid period of time. Within 1 year, we started to grow the country's economy. That's what you call performance. Currently, we have about 3,000 jobs being generated. You have, for example, Halcyon, the former Halcyon Hotel, that was taken over by Sunwing. And they're now building out a new chic resort. 350 rooms that will provide 800 new jobs. Sandals is expanding. And by the way, these are expansions that are taking place at this time. I'm not saying that they're going to follow. They are actually taking place for an opening later this year, the fourth quarter of this year. And the expansion of Sandals will create another 300 jobs. In Barbuda, within the next few months, they would have probably about 60 condominium homes completed, plus the major luxury homes. They will generate a few hundred jobs as well. Those are just 3 of several investments that are taking place and several others to come in stream. So we can say to you that every single able-bodied adult in this country that requires a job can get a job this year. And those of you who may be unemployed today, I say to you, UPP can't solve that. It takes the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party administration to resolve whatever unemployment is in this country at this point. And we're committed to resolving unemployment and to make sure that it's full employment. Already in certain sectors, you have more jobs than people. When it comes to skilled individuals in the construction sector, carpenters, masons, plumbers, we don't have enough. And we may have to allow for a number of workers to come in even temporarily because we do not have enough workers. And for other jobs within the economy, you can be assured that by the end of this year, you will have full employment. Now let us understand too that COVID created some fundamental problems. We had a problem where Social Security could not have paid pensioners in time. Notwithstanding the fact that we paid up all of our premiums. We have no arrears as a government to Social Security. And we have invested over $200 million in Social Security. In 10 years, the UPP invested no more than $60 million. So you can make the comparison. And even though we had to face one of the most devastating periods during that period of COVID, we made sure that we continue to make those Social Security payments. And what we did within the last few months is that we paid in an additional $15 million in Social Security, and we brought all the payments up to date. Let's hear it for Labour Man. I want to repeat that, Social Security is now paying pensioners ahead of time. So the payments that were due for the end of December were paid by the middle of December. We're working and clean. Let's hear it for Labour Man. And despite the lingering effects of COVID, despite the escalation of prices as a result of the war in Ukraine, we still found the resources to pay tens of millions of dollars in back pay. Let's hear it again for Labour Man. You think UPP could do that? Of course not. We are the best when it comes to financial engineering. They are not in our class. And I keep telling you all now, our Lovell wants to be Prime Minister and Finance Minister and he can't count. He himself admitted publicly that he was very poor at math. But I want to ask you all a question. We have momentum going in this country. We are making progress. We are growing the country's economy. We are fixing the problems. How can anyone justify risking retrogression by going back to a failure in Harry Lovell? You know, if Harry Lovell had not had the opportunity to govern, and people said they want to give him a chance, I can understand. But he got 2 chances, and he failed on both occasions. And you know, my dear comrade Melvin Nicholas said to me that a person who gets kicked twice by a mule would have learned nothing. So don't allow Harry Lovell and the UPP to mule you. You make sure that you defend this country's interests. And I want to tell you all, you know, Gaston Brown not trying to preserve himself in power. What I am trying to do here is to make sure I utilize my skills, my competence, use my commitment to work with you and with God's guidance to take this country to a higher level of development. That is my commitment to you, the people. And I'm doing it out of love and care. If I didn't love the people of Antigua and Barbuda, I'm in a position in my life I could walk away. But how am I going to walk away and leave you in the hands of somebody like Harry Lovell? How am I going to walk away and leave your progress in the hands of people like Serpent? How am I going to walk away and leave your advancement in the hands of people like Sean Bird? How could I? That would be a betrayal of your trust. And I want to say to you that there's no one in this country who is more passionate about your development than Gaston Brown. No one. And I tell you that that will not change. So you know, when they criticize me, they say I'm brash. But brash in the interest of the people. Because you know, the fights that I have taken on are primarily for your interests. So when I said to Scotia Bank, sell local or you would not get the vesting order, I did it in the interest of local empowerment. Let's hear it for Labour Man. And let me tell you all something here. When it comes to ownership, there is no other administration in the history of this country that has done more for ownership by the average man than my administration. You know, many of you take it for granted all those duty-frees we give you all to make sure you can afford a vehicle. We do it because we want to empower you. We want to make sure that the average man in this country can own a motor vehicle. When we subsidize those homes for national housing and chopper, when we sell you cheap land at $3 per square foot, it's about expanding ownership in this country. So when they look at the few assets that I have and say to you that I am wealthy, I can tell you the only land or building that I have acquired since I became Prime Minister is a house at Jolly Harbour that I partially own, funded by Global Bank of Commerce, and a parcel of land at Judge Bay, a man named Hi-Fry Ruggs sell me the land, funded by ECAB. So when Asset Michael said to you all that I have fictitious companies that own government land, he's talking about himself and his UPP colleagues. And I want to say to you all, you know, that we are expanding ownership. We bought Jolly Beach recently, 2/3 of it. And you know the Jolly Beach workers, you better understand who made sure that we did that deal to get the money to pay them the severance. I hear the union telling them that they're the ones who did it. Well, we want to tell them Gaston Brown and Team Labour do that. We are the ones who got a private entity. And by the way, let me make the claim again, because I suing big, you know, even for punitive damages. I have no shares in the 1/3 of Jolly Beach as asserted by Asset Michael. So that property, we sold 1/3 of it for $18 million US, and we took out 12.9 million and pay the outstanding severance payments to the Jolly Beach workers. Does that sound like an organization, an institution that does not care? That we're working so hard for your development that we're using every ounce of energy, all of our skills, all of our networking capabilities to bring value to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And all the UPP people and Asset Michael can do is to talk about Gaston Brown and slander Gaston Brown. Well, I want to ask you all something. After we would have expanded business ownership, home ownership, car ownership, more employment, and who's supposed to run the country? But then me and Team Labour, they had their chance. And Harold Lovell and the UPP collapsed this country's economy, putting thousands of people out of work, lest you forget. You know, some of you, taking us for granted. But I can tell you that this team is the best governance team that this country has seen since our independence. And I'll go further. If you take out Xavier Byrd Sr., this team is the best team that ever governed this country in its history. No scandals. In the past, every year you hear some kind of scandal about some kind of government minister. Where's the scandal? Anybody can call anybody a thief. But not one of them can bring a scintilla of evidence to say that me or any of my colleagues have stolen anything from the people of Antigua and Barbuda. The only person who tried to steal consistently from the people of Antigua and Barbuda, and I can say so without him suing me, is Asset Michael. And I want to tell you all, when that situation happened, when he was arrested by the British government, I said, friend or no friend, enough is enough. Out you go. And you look at all my colleagues here. Asset Michael didn't want to leave, but tell your boy, come out my cabinet and resign. Me, Gaston Brown, tell you so. Because when it comes to governance, we don't play. And let me tell you something, I can afford to call on any of my ministers to resign if they cross the line and steal public resources. Because none of them are none for me. Understand that? My dear people, our next level of development will see increased progress and prosperity. And we will not rest until we achieve first world living standards to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda must continue to be a shining star in the Caribbean and beyond. We are committed to continue to create positive value in all areas of our development, to continue to improve the infrastructure, to build more homes. And I want to say to those of you who live in the suburban areas, who live in the areas around the central business district, in Point, in Villa, in Grace Farm, in Otters, in Clay Hall, Green Bay, Grace Farm, we coming down with that wicked urban renewal project. And you know why? We want to help the people, the average man in this country, who lives in a dilapidated wooden property, to replace it with a concrete property. And guess what? We have the infrastructure in place. We have the concrete plant owned by the government. We have the concrete trucks owned by the government. We have the block plant owned by the government. And by the way, we have 40% shares in Blue Ocean. So we're going to mine our own sand. And the only thing we have to do is to buy concrete and build concrete homes like our in a sense. Let's hear it for Labour Man. And let me say this, the only thing they can do is to cuss Gaston Brown. They had a plan, Later this week, we're going to release our manifesto. And I want each of you to take your time and to look at the various areas, even the areas of diversification, the new areas of stem cells, cannabis therapies, the area of digitalization, which we're creating new opportunities to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. When it comes to plans, they can't stop us either. We have the experience, we have the competence, and we're working unrelentingly for the people of Antigua and Barbuda. So my dear comrades, we have other speakers, and I can talk here for the rest of the night. But we have some hard hitters to come, including Comrade Weston, and of course the man for the area, Comrade Nicholas.
who will three-peat Harrow Lovell. And my final point to the people of City is, you have to protect this country from Harrow Lovell. You have a responsibility to vote against him, to support Comrade Melford Nicholas, and to make sure that the man who mashed up the economy don't come back after we have fixed it to mash it up again. Thank you very much, my dear comrades. Love you. Good night. And let's stay committed and strong. Thank you. That's it.
Oh yes. Everybody's we are very nice here, man. I am. Hey. May I hear you? May I hear you? Every day of my life. Listen, I want you to keep that energy. Because the man that is going to defeat Harrow Lovell, third time in a row, a full time, fourth road. Oh my gosh, man! A high Bridgestone. Somebody tell Lovell this. Somebody tell Lovell this. What?
And if you can't take those those if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. And if you can't take those no man, let no man harm you unto others. Comrades and friends, it's a challenging night. It is a challenging night. When I saw the rain come down tonight, I said to myself, there shall be showers of blessings. Showers of blessings we crave. Let me tell you something. Yesterday, or a few days ago, we had the service, the national service. What a wonderful service it was. And the message was that we should count our blessings, no matter how small. You see, the strategy that the UPP is deploying now, it is to say to you that every place that you have a hurt, they want to magnify it. And they want to tell you that that is the substance of your existence. That is what they're doing. And so because they're trying to focus on your pain points, they're saying to you that they are the ones who can fix it. Nothing could be further from the truth. And that is the big illusion that it is taking place. Now I want to take the opportunity tonight to thank all of my colleagues who have been on the platform with me, especially those who have given a round endorsement to my candidacy. They know me well. The task at the end of a long night for me is simple. I have to score a few little runs in this last over. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to hit a boundary. If a boundary comes, I'm going to hit it. But I have to tell you, I have to listen to the Prime Minister fired up like he was. I have to listen to Comrade Gail Christian fired up as she was. I have to listen to Comrade Sir Malwin Joseph fired up as he was. What more can you ask for? For me, the task is simple. I am here tonight to give an account of my stewardship as the MP for St. John City East. My stewardship is about to tell you in the ways that I have performed. I want to see my City East massive in front. I want to see them in front because they know me. They know me. And one thing that they know about me, in all circumstances, whenever things get rough, I always say to them, let us have what? A soft landing. Well, I'm on a soft landing tonight. Me in the mood for fire. I am in the mood to fire. Truth must be told. You know? It's difficult for people sometimes to remember the hard times when the hard times get overcome by better days. And then they will forget. When I came here and started my campaign in 2012, the roads in this constituency were atrocious. We had the annual problem of flooding. We had mosquito problems. Anybody that went across by Public Works and came down and got to Goodwin Street will know the tremendous problems we had there. I want you all to bear in mind what I'm saying to you. Because, as my twin brother said, I brought a certain set of experience and competence to this job. I am not no little pickup Jimmy. I did nearly 30 years in commerce. When I left the private sector, I was chief operating officer for one of the largest companies in this country. I rose to the top because of competence and experience. Not no joke business, because in the private sector you can't fudge. All right? And what the PM did not say to you, as far back as 2002, when the UPP and I fell out, he called me and he said, Comrade Nicholas, Melford Nicholas, you and I are friends. We have had a friendship that went way back to since 1989. And he invited me to be part of the Labour Party, and I said to him, you know, as in anything, there must be clarity. And even my friend Color here tonight, he can tell you that that's the word he called me, clarity. There must be some clarity. And I said, let me walk my lonely walk first. And I can also recall that when Gaston Brown decided to enter politics and he challenged Len Mussington, or they were involved in a primary, he and I were friends, and we went to lunch at Calypso Restaurant on Reckless Street at the time. And he told me what he was about to do, and I said, you know what? Somehow, somewhere, I don't know how, but our paths are going to cross, and we are going to be working in unison at some point in time. And it has come to pass. So when he called in 2002 and said, now is the time, I said, not yet, hold your horses. I had to run the experiment. Yes, city is story time. I had to run the experiment. And so in 2009, I went with the OND, and it was clear at that stage that the country was in danger. My entire estate, my family is here, my wife and 2 children in the audience here somewhere. And all that she and I have worked for was at risk of destruction because of the UPP. And I'm no fool. You are no fool. So the only thing that was left for me to do is to come to defense of my estate. And the time was right for the OND to come on board with the Antigua Labour Party. That's a little story. So we're here. But when I came here to campaign in 2012, the infrastructure was rotted. And I want to tell you all something about being in government. Many people think that government have an endless supply of resources. And you can just go in the treasury and you can just do it like that. No! There is scarcity everywhere. You can't overtax the people. So any given month, there is not enough money to pay salaries and wages and all of the expenditure that the government have. So we have to prioritize. And so when you're in government, even to get a little road or a bridge or a drain for your constituency, it takes plenty effort. You have to be in a cabinet with 13 other ministers who have constituencies too. And they're competing with you for the same resources. So I want each of you to understand that the infrastructure build out that you see here in St. John City East, it did not come cheap. It did not come without effort. I want to tell you all something else. You all know me now for long enough time. And you see me. Melford is an easy-going fella. The same guy that you see on the press briefing is the same guy that is before you. But let me tell you something, people. I come with more than one part. You see, part of me is Lennox Weston. Part of me is Gaston Brown. Part of me is Dean Jonas. In other words, what I'm saying to you, to get anything done, I have to rely on my other colleague ministers to get it done. If your mother is sick, and I know of a couple of them in the constituency, or your father, or any family member of yours is sick and ailing and is in need of support from a health care worker, and you can't get it done yourself and you call upon me, I have to call and come with Dean Jonas. And I have to depend on him for the support. When the roads have major potholes in them, I have to rely on Comrade Weston. I have to negotiate. And he may say to me, Comrade Nicholas, I can do it now, I can do it later. So I want you all to understand and appreciate everything that you see that we have achieved in this constituency is as a result of all the parts working together. And you cannot, for the life of yourself and what is good for yourself and your constituency, to think that you can just flip that and throw it away and to think that you're going to go with a fresh team with people who have no experience about doing anything. Never. It could never happen. So I want to tell you all about my own performance. And before I finish up on this other point, let me also make the point that one of the things that they talk about, oh, I see somebody from the opponent's team say, oh, when I look, where Melford's been? Where Melford's been? I've always been here. For 2 years during the pandemic, you saw where I'd been. Y'all think it was easy? I remember that morning when we had the 39 people coming down with COVID. There's a lot of panic breakout in the cabinet room. I myself panicked, and I said to the PM, boss man, me not go take a face the media one me this morning. And me and Malwin and the team have to go. I'm just saying, I've been there. We've been working. We've been busy. There has never been a period in my entire adult life where I have been this busy or I've been distressed. You give me the job to manage your affairs, and so that's what we've been doing. I can't be managing the job from the affairs and walking in each and every rum shop every weekend and every night and on the block. Come on. But when you want to have access to me, I give everybody, without fear or favor, access to me by giving you my number. And I say you can call me at any time. Not call me at any time, but you can get to me when you wish by sending me, if you can't get me on the phone directly, message and I will respond. There is another part of me, my team in the constituency. You know them well. You know them well. They're here. They're here. If you're unable to see me at a point in time and you get to any one of my team members, they're duty bound to bring it to my attention. So you have access to me at all material times. I took the opportunity since 2017 in rebuilding the facility in Gamble's Terrace because the one that I inherited was inadequate. We couldn't have private meetings, and we have built it over. Right? We still have some work to do there. So you have access, and let nobody fool you and tell you that you don't have access to your MP, because you do. You do. I have, just a minute. I have, as part of my support team, one of the nicest personal assistants that anybody could ask for. Get along with everybody. The people of City East, when I came in 2012, they told me about the horrible experience they had in going to the MP's office and in meeting another personal assistant. And I'm going to call the lady's name out of respect. But you know, y'all know what I'm talking about. So you have access. You've seen the work. You've seen the work. So let me ask y'all. When you have an examination and you get 20 sums, and when they go down, number 1, correct, tick. Number 2, tick. And you go all the way down and you're into the distinction area now. What do you expect? You pass, and as the PM say, when you pass with them flying colors, you move up. So let me just go through a little record here. And the people know that I love to sing my calypso. They know I like to sing my calypso. Not only story time, but calypso. Let me ask this question. Let me ask this question from the people here gathered who know me from cities. Who repaired the Agatha Goodwin Street? Who repaired and relayed Bishopgate Street? Who rebuilt all the swales and the culverts in Gambel's Terrace by Rosalie Drive? Who installed a modern digital IT infrastructure at Princess Margaret School? Who has just now installed perimeter surveillance system for the Princess Margaret School? Who repaired and relayed Lilac Lane? Are they live now, Ronaldo? You're not walking in plastic shoes no more. Right. Who repaired and relayed Hibiscus Lane? And who repaired and relayed Sports Street, Friendship Alley, and Neighborhood Alley? Who fenced this playing field? Who installed floodlights at the Princess Margaret playing field? Who helped all the residents in the floodplains during the 2020 flood? Well, all right. Well, all right. Well, all right. Well, if all these things you say is true, listen to what I'm asking you. If third term they forget from you, who forget them? Well, all right. So here's what I'm saying now. It is clear. It is clear. I am willing to serve for another 5 years. There is work to be done. There is more work to be done. I talked about the infrastructural improvement in the community. But it wasn't just that all. I was concerned there's not a single young man who has come to me in this constituency in the life since I've been an MP. Every single one of them, bar none, and I do not discriminate. I have not had a conversation with them about finding gainful employment. Not a single one. Not a single one, including those who are in blue tonight. Not a single one, right? My job is about empowerment. We empower people through work. All of them saying to my younger generation in the constituency, I can't help you to keep a job if you don't want to keep it. So we have helped hundreds of people to find gainful employment in both the ministry that I'm responsible for and through appealing to some of my other colleagues. I have found gainful employment. And I'm happy to say that the vast majority of them have kept the jobs. So to prove my point, I want to single out, and when I'm talking positive things about people, I can call the names. Right after we expanded Princess Margaret School, I said to Comrade Colin Harrigan, you can't come in here and have that nice, big, fat, juicy contract, and I have unemployed people here in cities. None does so. And Comrade Harrigan said to me, I'm a Nicholas, send a few. So I sent a few. And at the end of the project, at the very Christmas party in 2017, two of the guys came to me and said, Minister, the job finished, we short, we broke. I said, no problem. And I took them, same two young men, and one of them reminded me the other day. On the 3rd of January 2018, I took them two young men up to Bucket of Blood, and I said to my then landlord, I needed to find employment for me, for these guys. And I'm happy to say, 5 years on, they're still working. I want to tell you about Babel, and I want to tell you about Janito. They are the example that I want all the other young men. Get a job, hold a job, fight it, and empower yourself. When the next level of development comes, they are the people that will benefit. But if it is not just employment, it is also about serving as the agent, the agency for people. Do you know how many people, this is a constituency where people move in and out from time to time. Today a man came to my office and he has moved his family from elsewhere. He has a little child that is still going to primary school at All Saints. Imagine the stress, the double bus fare that he have to go to get the child to school in the mornings and back. So he come to me and he said, I need some assistance in getting my daughter transferred to No, she primary school, to Villa Primary. And I said to him, consider it done, sir. There are many, many instances where the MP has got to put away his busy schedule to focus on them little things for people. And there are copious examples where I've done that for the people. So representation does not only mean infrastructure and having money to help people in a time of need. Yes, we do that. And there are many, many circumstances. I am proud to be able to provide scholarship opportunities for people. And we don't do this to go on social media and boast about it. But I know the families that I've helped, the children that I've helped, to be able to aspire. And you can continue to be assured that that is the kind of representation that I will. But if that were all, I want to say to the people of City East, working with Gaston Brown as Prime Minister is a little bit of a trick. Because when we came into government, he said to me when I got my ministerial appointment, Minister Nicholas, I want you to become the best Minister of Information Technology that we ever had. I believe I've risen to the challenge somewhat. But you know what? Coming into this election season, he has said to each and every one of us, we have got to raise the standards a little bit. We have to go to the next level. So the last time he did a walkthrough with me before the one we had the other night, when he buy out all the shops. The famous day when Lovell come on the bridge and Asabi done him. Right? That famous day, as we were walking through, he said to me, Comrade Nicholas, you have a problem here with housing. And you know, he's big on housing. Too many wooden houses, too many chattel houses. And I said to him, PM, the problem is that the land ownership is the issue. A lot of large land owners and people are not able to do the kind of development that they want. So he's had the conversation with me, and I want to show you tonight. I wonder if Master Control can pull up the two photos of what National Housing and I have put in place. Master Control, could you pull up the image of the two houses? This very month, National Housing will construct an Orange Alley, a duplex facility. That is the new level of infrastructural and housing development. That is going to be constructed, an Orange Alley. It's a two-house complex, a duplex. One is 2 bedrooms and one is 3 bedrooms. And never mind as fancy as it looks, it will be designed to ensure that the average person can own it. Housing development is going to be a major part of my involvement with you for the next 5 years. I am committing that persons who have gainful employment, who want to keep their own jobs, and who want to be creative and provide another means of income, whether or not you do some a little domestic industry, a little cottage industry, I want to work with you. And being a part of this experience is something that you can aspire to. I said to a few young men the other night in the old city, I said, my job when we get past the election this year is to ensure, no, I won't go that far, is to say to them, in order for you to aspire to have your own property, you have to be able to hold down the job. So I am prepared to work with everybody who wants to do that. Now I'll go further and say this. When I was a young man, when I left the Antigua State College, the first ambition that I had was to own a car. Boy, I throw box money like crazy. And then I remember clearing 3 blocks on one time, and I bought myself a Toyota Starlet. And I used to hear the adults say, boy, them young men, all they want to do is to have motor car. Why they don't go buy a piece of land? In those days, the banks were not providing financing for land ownership. I'm happy to say to you that because of what Gaston Brown has done, he has created an appetite for housing and for home ownership in this country. Big time. When he announced that we were going to have the small properties, the starter homes, Harold Lovell and Serpent, and they started to ridicule the thing and say, oh, that is wattle and no daub and that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, every single engagement I've had with people in this community, it always comes down to a question. I need help to get something through Chopper or through National Housing. It is a real thing. People now have acquired the cars. I don't know what will happen on the 15th of December now, when our motorcade, 15th of January, when our motorcade going, the country get locked down. There's so many cars, and sometimes when I say this Antigua having too many cars, a young person who don't have a car yet say, he don't have enough yet, I don't get mine. So car ownership has become a thing. Home ownership has now become another thing. And I'm saying to you, in this new term, the people in this community, the young people, the aspiring people, the people who want to build families, who have family lives to lead, and who would want to be able to come out at the insipid rent, can look forward to that kind of engagement from the MP. But I'm not finishing there. I'm not finishing there. Tonight reminded me, the rainy night reminded me of a night when I got some sponsorship for Superstars. And when the rains came, I spoke through the rain much like the Prime Minister had done. I didn't have the cover, so I got fully wet. I always said that Superstars provided a clean corner opportunity for these young little tender ones. During one of our summer camps, over 3 days under the stewardship of the leaders of the Superstars, we had young people ringing out a tune. I want to restore Superstars to its rightful place. And so Master Control, I want you to be able to show the other image that we have now instituted. This is the challenge that Prime Minister Gaston Brown has put us through. And this entire area, when we came here tonight, people are asking me, how many acres are here? To be honest, I don't know. It's a lot of acreage. But we want to create, in this area here, a new social hub, that this place can not only be an area for football and for cricket and for events like this, but it is also a recreational area. We want to put a whole walking rink around here with lights so that people can exercise and stay healthy and be in the outdoors. But the most exciting part of the vision, for my part, is what is going to happen on Sports Street. There's a narrow piece of land at the end of the playing field. When we were fencing it, I deliberately kept that area vacant. We do travel. And there's a place in St. Lucia called Anse-le-Ray. Anse-le-Ray is a place where on a weekend it's a fishing town. Anse-le-Ray is literally translated to mean the sea, the beach of the rays. Right? The fishing town. A little remote country fishing town. But every night on a weekend, tourists from all over St. Lucia go to Anse-le-Ray. And they get some cockle water, they get some conchs, they get whatever it is they have to offer. Can you imagine us having village nights here in City East? You hear the Prime Minister talking about 300 tourists coming here, and we're expanding cruise tourism to be able to get over 1 million tourists. Can you imagine that we're bringing the people into our village and giving them a taste of the cuisine of local people, of giving them a little cockle water? Look, my son, who is a chef, told me that there was a guy living in my constituency named Finn Hinkson. I didn't even know him then. He lived by your drugs. Finn Hinkson, he did cockle and he said, can you imagine a tourist coming here and getting some of that cockle done down to a nice little cockle broth right here in St. John City East to expand the ownership opportunity for people? My dear comrades and friends, the night is long spent. I've given you a taste of what the future looks like when I will be returned with your able support to go to the lower house and to recommence the work that we have so done. I want to thank each of you for coming out. I know that you stood through the rain, and that demonstrates to me a lot of commitment. Over the remaining days, the next 14 or 15 days of the campaign, those of you who haven't seen me yet can look forward to having that conversation with me. You know me well. If the Labour Party promises to do something, we will do it. The fact that I've been bold enough to put it up on the billboard tonight, and Minx and others will put up the posters so that you can see and have a closer look for yourself over the coming days. We are going to take the infrastructural and the economic development in this constituency to a next level. We have already made big dents in the infrastructure. It's not yet finished. When we finish the drains, we're going to have to maintain it, and I'm going to have to depend on people to keep it clean so that it serves us for a very long time. But I want to say to you, I'm looking forward for your ongoing support when January 18 comes, such that When they're doing the count, it will be Nicholas, 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 and more Nicholas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Nicholas. So, comrades, until Thursday night, when we meet at Knuckle Block, we had 2 other speakers scheduled tonight, but because of the time limitations. So see you on Thursday night, and the person who called me about this phone that I have in my hand, please come and collect it now. The person who lost their phone and called the number, please come and collect it now. Thank you very much, comrades.